up today, every 3 to 4 minutes, someone in the U.S. is diagnosed with a blood cancer. The cure for those cancers could, though, be in your hands. We meet a college student who is setting record numbers and finding life-saving marrow donors. Good morning. I'm Jessica Lovell, and welcome to the Morning Medical Update. In less than 5 minutes, with a simple swab of your mouth, you could save someone's life by joining the National Bone Marrow Registry. It's a big message that a small group of KU students really took to heart when they learned that their friend had cancer. As Janine Kiesling shows us, their message, though, grew into something more powerful than they ever dreamed.
We've all heard of wedding and baby registries, and if you've watched our programs regularly, you've heard of the bone marrow registry. The students you're about to meet went above and beyond to register people in an effort to save the life of their friend.
Just the potential to save someone's life is just incredible.
When a KU freshman learned his leukemia returned, volunteers at the university's Be the Match organization jumped into action.
We have a basketball tournament in support of Luke Carell, a freshman Beta Theta Pi, diagnosed with leukemia in high school, and he just relapsed.
These cheers and smiles at the Buckets for Luke tournament on the campus in Lawrence masked a more serious motivation. These students gathered with a common goal.
We're partnering with Be the Match to get people swabbed, raise awareness, and get people on the registry.
University of Kansas junior Sophie Hageman is Vice President of Operations for Be the Match KU. In just 1 year since it formed on campus here, they've made huge strides with more than 3,000 new registries and 11 matches in one semester.
That's more than any other college campus, so that's pretty awesome.
One of those matches came from sophomore Caden Miller.
I actually just went to DC to donate stem cells. Just the fact that you can swab and you can potentially save a life, I mean, that's crazy. It's pretty much no effort on my end.
A lot of times with Be the Match, everything is obviously confidential, so we don't know who we're helping.
But today they know the difference they could make personally. Sophie says they're still searching for a match for Luke, and they're not letting up until they find one.
I think helping others is beautiful and fascinating.
And we're so thrilled to have Sophie joining us virtually today alongside her mother, Dana Wright. You know her face and you certainly recognize her voice from the Dana and Park Show on KMBZ Radio. Ladies, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Dynamic mother-daughter duo doing big things here in our area. So we're going to talk with you here in just a moment. I also want to introduce you to Dr. Layla Shunay. She is a hematologist and medical oncologist at the University of Kansas Cancer Center. And your question this morning was, what is your purpose? You looked me right in the eye and you said, what is your purpose? And you said it really came to you because you were looking at these two ladies and thinking they're finding their purpose. And I think that's really powerful. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for having me here.
And I'm going to have my answer to you by the end of the show. Sophie, let's start with you. We want to find out how Luke is doing. Do we have an update? Is he still waiting for a match?
Yes, so we actually got an update just last night, but Luke's mother was able to donate to him. And so that was a couple weeks ago. So he's been kind of going through that process and currently is going through engraftment where his stem cells that were transferred are starting to make new white blood cells, red blood cells, platelets. So hopefully he will be better and he's getting stronger by the day and hopefully out of the hospital soon.
And nothing like a friend being ill or facing something like cancer to really make you and your friends pull together and jump in. What did you know about Be the Match before all of this? Were you always involved or is this new?
This is actually new to me. Last year, I kind of joined their volunteer group just a couple days a week, and I really fell in love with their mission and kind of what they were doing. So I started attending their weekly meetings and then wanted to be a little bit more. So I ran for Vice President of Operations at their next elections.
So, Dana, this month of May, we've been celebrating mothers, and we just came off of Mother's Day, and celebrating mothers and all they do. You have to, though, be pretty proud of your daughter. And I have to ask, if Dana Wright is your mother, does that mean you have to have a big voice and be boisterous, just like you? I would imagine she has a pretty, the apple may not fall from the tree.
She has an amazing, big, booming voice, and I could not be more proud that they're using it to help others. And one of the things I've learned through this process, just watching them, is how innovative this group of kids really has been, trying to come up with different ways to get more and more people to match. And it started out looking for a match for Luke, and unfortunately on campus that wasn't able to happen. But when she told me 11 matches today, I was like, oh my gosh, I think that's more than any other college in the country. And really at their core, these kids want to do something to help, right? When you hear that someone is sick, whether you know that person or not, first thing we think is like, how can I help? What can I do? You know, do you take a casserole over or something like that, which is what our generation did. They have figured out that this is something so simple that everybody can do and everybody wants to do to help. Everyone can swab their cheek. It takes seconds. There's no pain involved. Get it done. And they are spreading that message better than any of our generation ever could.
Yeah, it's really about educating yourself and then turning around and spreading that word, which is exactly what they're doing. And it's not just anything. It's about helping save people's lives. It seems small swab, and then it's a big, huge effect. And Dana, this though is something that's really close to your heart, correct? And tell us why.
Yeah, well, a couple of things. I have had a couple of people in my life touched by organ donation, and we know how low those rates are in the United States. And then, you know, I'm an alum of the University of Kansas. My two daughters both go to the University of Kansas. My son graduated from the University of Kansas, and then I have one more coming up here in a couple of years. And so I have that connection as well. And I remember saying to Scott one day before our show, why don't we do a swab registry at one of our next events? And so we're looking to partner even to do that. We have listeners of every single age and background. So I think it's important to get the word out to as many people as we can. We also have a lot of older listeners, and I'm 49. I will tell you this. I have personally been on the registry for probably 15 years, 16 years, something like that. And I never got the call. I'm still waiting for that call. But we do have a lot of listeners with questions about age. And if you're still on, you know, the registry, how does that work, kind of thing.
Well, and let's bring in Dr. Shunay to answer that, because I think if you've already donated and you're past 40, is it true that you could still get the call up to a certain age? Tell us kind of how those qualifications have changed.
So, you know, as the registry expands, as we grow, the age cutoff for donation now is about 40 years. So I'm sorry, Sophie, sorry, Ms. Dana, that you may not be called, but your contribution is still valuable. So we try to select younger donors for patients, because that has been shown to have a better outcome. That's why I really thank the college kids working so hard to try and increase number of young people in the registry. But older donors, don't be discouraged. Your voice is valuable to us. Spread the word. Get as many people involved in this program. You know, so thank you.
Well, and talk to the younger generations below you. This is kitchen table talk. You know, if you're over the age of 40, talk to your kids. It's that. I think, Dana, you mentioned it. People are always trying to find things they can do. And when you're in college, giving money and things like that doesn't always work. But you could swab a cheek. You got 5 minutes. Those are the easy things you can do, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about that. I mean, just your age group trying to find ways to give back to people, and just how impactful that is.
Yeah, we're constantly looking for events around campus and Lawrence for Be the Match, and, you know, kind of getting our mission out there. We wanted to double our numbers from this past year and get more and more people added to the donor registry, because, you know, so many people are diagnosed every day with a blood disease. And so, yeah, we're constantly looking for opportunities.
Dr. Shunay, Dana had mentioned diversity. She's got listeners of all shapes, sizes, backgrounds, diversities. How important is that we're reaching everyone with different backgrounds?
Thank you, Diana. That is so valuable, because the registry as it stands today is primarily made of Caucasian Americans and Caucasian people. And that's wonderful, because we can find chance of finding a donor if you're a Caucasian patient is upwards of 70%, which is excellent. Unfortunately, people of minority groups are not as well represented because the word is not out. And the likelihood of finding a donor, if you're of African American descent, in the registry is less than 30%. So thank you, Diana, for creating a big tent event whereby all listeners from different backgrounds are invited to join the march, so we can have more donors available for all our patients.
And then not to mention the diversity you find on college campuses and this boots on the ground effort that these young people are doing, kind of making it cool. You're making it cool, something cool that actually makes a difference, right, Sophie? And it must be fun, though, for you, Mom, Dana, to watch her do this and to be there to support and to kind of help guide, but kind of watch her fly, too.
Oh, it's been amazing. It's actually, when she applied for the board position, she didn't tell us until she got the position. And I said, what are you doing? These kids are going to be the ones that are innovative and get us out of a lot of the difficult situations that I think that we're in, not just in the medical community and sphere, but in all aspects in the United States. And so it's been very rewarding watching these kids. And you know, one of the things I think they've learned through this is that if you don't know someone who has this need, if you don't know a Luke, there are thousands of Lukes out there. Mm-hmm. He's such a great kid and has been so strong through all of this. And when it touched them personally, it launched them into action. But then think about it, 11 other lives have been saved. And those are people maybe they didn't know, of different backgrounds. Mm-hmm. You heard the one student who had to go to Washington, D.C. to save one. I had a neighbor several years ago who got the call and saved a man in Colorado Springs. So it might not be someone you know, but that's someone's loved one that you have touched. And it's just such an easy thing and an easy way to save a life.
Yeah. All right, let's do our part. And if you want to sign up, we're going to put a QR code up throughout the program today. It's going to take you to Be the Match websites where you can find out more information about how you could become a donor. Again, 5 minutes, super easy. They mail it to you, you swab it, and you mail it back, and boom, poof, you're in the National Registry. And that can be used when they're putting out a worldwide search, right, Dr. Shuday?
Yes. Yeah. American donors can donate for people in Europe. European donors can donate for people in America. The whole world needs your help.
And we've watched some of that magic happen here at our place because we've watched people come from overseas to donate and vice versa. It's really magical. Let's talk about why somebody needs a matched bone marrow. Let's talk about the blood cancers and explain why somebody needs it and what kind of treatment they're receiving.
Absolutely. So blood cancers, especially leukemia, lymphoma, can be quite aggressive. And sometimes the only hope of treating the patient is to reboot their whole immune system. And the only way to do that is to do a bone marrow transplant. And that's why we're looking for healthy, young donors whose immune system is so powerful that when we give it to the patient, we'll protect them from the leukemia ever coming back. So it's a life-saving, one-and-done strategy to reboot the whole system. And basically, it's a living therapy. The immune system from the donor will protect the patient forever.
And Dr. Shuday, if you sign up for the registry, how likely is it for you to become a match? Dana had mentioned she's been waiting 15 years, but I don't want that to discourage people because I think just sitting and waiting on the registry is also doing your part, whether you ever get called to duty or not. I still think that's really important.
Absolutely, Dana. So we look at all the donors that are available for the patient, right? And we call up 10 people. And sometimes people are not able to come in for whatever reason. Somebody's pregnant, somebody's sick, somebody's traveling. So we look through, and if the only donor available for the patient is a 49-year-old lady called Dana, we'll call you. We'll call you because you will save that life. You will save that life.
And she will. Yeah. She would be all over it. I have no doubt. I have no doubt.
I know she will. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know. You're waiting anxiously by the phone. So, but let's talk about people who wait for that match. If it never comes, what are the other treatment options for these folks?
So, for example, we have this young patient, Luke, right, who has leukemia. And he hasn't found a match yet, right? But we have found ways to get cells from cord blood, from a newly born baby cord blood, which is a very immature stem cell. We have found a way to get stem cells from a person's related donor, like a mom who's half matched to her son. So Luke is getting cells from his mom. So the technology has advanced in such a way that we can use cells from your mom or from your child or from your sibling who is half matched. So at the beginning of transplant, we could only use matched donors, matched sibling donors initially, which is about 25% chance of getting a donor. And then we expanded to match volunteer donors, and that was amazing. And that gives you a 70% chance of getting a donor. But if that doesn't work out, you can still get cells from a half-matched donor within your family, which has made it so that everybody who needs a stem cell transplant can get a donor today.
What's the timeline look like, the process from when a match is found to when it gets to a patient?
That depends also on several factors. I think we can turn around identified donor and get cells to the patient within 4 weeks. Within 4 weeks, and that's very rapid. But sometimes the patient is going through chemotherapy, they're not ready. We still prepare the donor, and then when we have the opportunity, we go ahead and get the cells from the donor. But typically about 4 weeks we'll be ready.
So Sophie, throughout this process that you were holding these events for Luke, what were some of the questions that people would walk up and ask you?
So some of the questions that they would ask us is like, when will I get the call? Does it hurt? Kind of stuff like that they're worried about. They're worried about the unsureness of it. But 90% of the time it's just kind of like a blood transfusion or like a blood transplant donation. And so those, people do that every day. Those are, harmless. You're in and out same day. And then 10% of the time it's the marrow donation, which is surgical, and you're kind of out for a couple days, but it's still only like a minor back pain to just saving a life. So, yeah.
Dana, what kind of questions have you gotten in the past from people?
Well, people want to know, how do I travel? And that's an absolute legitimate, valid question. What if I match with somebody in Germany? And it's my understanding they're not going to ask you, can you save somebody's life? And then, by the way, you need thousands of dollars to travel. They want everyone in the registry to be in the registry, and don't worry about the cost. And to her point, this is something that you can do that isn't going to really hurt you in any way. I wish everybody would swab. There is no downside to swabbing. Yeah. Absolutely no downside whatsoever.
All right.
Yeah.
And go ahead, Sophie. Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say something we do also want to get out there is that if you do join, that we want them to be on the registry for, as long as they can, and that if they do get the call that they will donate, because some kids, they join because they want to do the good thing in the moment, but when they get the call, they get scared or something like that. So yeah, we're really reaching out to people who want to be on the donor registry, who want to stay on the donor registry, and it's all up to them to join and want to save a life.
Absolutely. You might swab and become on the registry, and then life changes for you down the road, and you never know. And you don't want people to be afraid of that. We had a guy that swabbed at an event very similar to what you did, Sophie, and 6-7 years later, he picks up the phone, but he was all in. I mean, he flew down here from Chicago and loved the experience. It was life-changing for him. But yeah, I mean, what you do today may change, and we want to make sure people don't feel fearful of that, right, Dr. Shunay?
Absolutely. There's no compulsion. So if you register and for whatever reason, maybe you're having a baby or you're planning your wedding, you cannot come through, don't worry about it. There'll be another chance. There'll be another opportunity in the future. So not to worry, it's doable. And we thank all people who are participating and coming through and spreading the word. So thank you.
Just get the swab and see where it takes you, for sure. Okay, if you have questions, go ahead and send those in to the chat on YouTube or Facebook. You can tweet us or send us an email on Medical News Network. That info is right there on your screen. Let's get a quick check of our COVID count. Dr. Dana Hawkinson, Medical Director of Infection Prevention and Control. Good morning. How are you?
Hi. It's good to have another Dana on.
Right, I know. You guys haven't seen each other in a minute, huh?
I know. No, it's been. It's probably a good thing because that means nothing too bad is going on.
That's right. I know, because you were a frequent flyer on the Dana and Park show during the height of the pandemic.
Well, they were always so good in just getting out the word and trying to do their social job and getting out public information and medical information to keep everyone healthy.
Yeah, it was important for them to do that.
Very
so
conscientious, yes.
But anyway, glad to have this reunion, but on different circumstances.
Yes. Right now, the COVID count is looking better, 18 total, but the important number is those actives. Only 5 active, 0 in the ICU, and 0 on the ventilator. So
All right, so we're happy to see I call it the double goose egg there, 0 and 0 on those numbers. But we've had no COVID patients in the ICU for about a week now. Do you expect the numbers to stay pretty low though through the summer?
It's hard to say. I mean, I would expect it, and I'm being, I guess, ambitious and hoping that it will. Again, I think we talked a little bit about this yesterday. We are hoping that SARS-CoV-2 is entering more of a seasonality than it has been the last couple years, but there's still probably going to be some more circulation of that virus compared to other cough and cold viruses, influenza, during the summer. But right now I am anticipating that the numbers will stay low. Let's hope that they do stay low. And right now, all of the variants that we're seeing, they're all Omicron sublineages. There isn't too much change. We've heard some things in the news about Arcturus, or it's a new XBB 1.16. That's only about 15% of circulating viruses in the United States based on the latest CDC data. There still is just the XBB 1.5. They really don't seem to have any difference in clinical syndromes. They're not more severe or anything like that. So I think we're all doing good as far as that goes. Hopefully there won't be any wholesale changes or significant changes to the virus itself, creating more severe illness. But we'll just kind of wait and see. Hopefully that won't come down the pike anytime soon. But overall, to answer your question, yeah, I'm anticipating for the next few weeks, hopefully we will continue to have low circulation of virus, and of course those single digits, or once we get to that large goose egg of 0 active infections in the hospital, that will be even better.
All right, I like what I hear. Doc Ock, thanks so much. Any reporters with us today? All right, let's get to our community question. Jean wants to know, are there any other restrictions other than that 40-year age restriction for donating?
No. Even the age is flexible. The age is flexible. As I mentioned, if that's the only donor available for the patient, then we will call that donor. So there's no other restrictions really. Patients have to be.
So you don't have to be like a pillar of health.
No. So right before you donate, so if we identify a donor and we invite you to be a donor and you're like, yep, I'm all in, I'm coming, we will check your blood, make sure there's no infections that that will surprise us, and just kind of get a history and get a feel for your health history. We want to make sure that we protect the donor. The donor is very important to us. So the testing that's done, the visit that you have with the doctor as a donor is primarily to protect you and make sure that you're okay. So if you're healthy and there's no contraindication to proceeding, we'd bring you on and you'll be our donor. But if there's a problem, if we discover that you have an abnormal rhythm or something's going on with you, we will help you get in with a physician and get the help you need. So the donor is, unless something is very, very off, you would be our donor. You would be our donor.
And we'll leave that to you.
Yeah.
To do the checking.
Yes,
so again,
yes.
It goes back to just do the swab. Lynn wants to know, and I'm going to ask Sophie this question because I want to know and you touched on it a little bit, Sophie, but I'm sure people ask you this. Are there any risks to donating?
So, there's discomfort varies from person to person, but, you could experience headaches, but there's no risk to donating. You regenerate blood so quickly that you're able to donate, every other day. And the stem cells, just being able to donate those and save a life, there's no, risk to it.
Is Dr. Sophie accurate, Dr. Shunay?
I completely agree with Sophie.
I'm sure you become this kind of pseudo expert in some of these big terms. I can barely say half of the terms around here. So
yeah, I've learned a lot.
Yeah, you can't help but learn and dive deep into that. Question from Lisa: is this like being on a heart transplant list, where you have to be kind of hover between being well enough to accept the heart, but also critically ill enough to need the bone marrow transplant? Is there any issues with that, on what kind of state your health has to be in as a patient to receive?
That's a good question. So, with heart transplant, the scarcity of the organ makes it so that only those who are absolutely desperate could get the organ, and that's because of scarcity. But with stem cell transplant, we actually choose the people who are gonna receive the most benefits from it. So anybody who needs a transplant is listed as the most needing of that transplant. So we don't have this long list of people who are desperately ill. We try to give transplants to healthy people so that they can recover their health and move on with their lives. And because the stem cell transplant is such a gift that regenerates itself, and it's available through the registry from millions of patients and millions of donors, we don't have those restrictions. We try to resolve the issue with the leukemia, give the patient the new immune system, and launch them back into life.
And Yad wants to know, could CAR T therapy, we talk about CAR T therapy on this program a lot, could it be used to cure leukemia without needing the bone marrow transplant?
That's a very good question. So in childhood leukemias, CAR T has a proven track record, really a remarkable work. And they don't do it up front. They do it for young people who have relapsed multiple times. Their leukemia has come back multiple times. For those group of people, the CAR T could cure them. But for diseases like acute myeloid leukemia or aggressive lymphomas, we still have to rely on stem cell transplant. But if you look at stem cell transplant or bone marrow transplant, it is the ultimate CAR T, isn't it? It is an immune system that will never leave the body of the patient. It's an immune system that is a living gift, above and beyond the CAR T.
As we wrap up today, I want to get your takeaway. What do you want folks to know as they head out today?
First of all, Dana and Sophie, thank you so much, you guys, for spreading the word. It's an easy swab. It could save a life. You know, we love and appreciate young people who are altruistic, good hearts out there trying to save lives. We want to give every young person an opportunity to participate and save a life. And let me tell you, your gift is a living gift, a living therapy that will cure and save the life of loved ones and launch them back into life. So thank you, guys.
Dana, what's the takeaway from our conversation today?
I'm just so proud of all of the young people. And even if you look on the Be the Match Facebook page, which I follow now, every day they profile someone holding up that gift of life, and they profile different donors every single day. And they are all young people this age. And I love that you have a QR code, and we're reaching out in different ways to reach different people, because I do believe this is the generation that's going to really, really help us. And I would also say, please sign up to be an organ donor while you're watching this. There is a scarcity of organs in this country badly, and you can't take that stuff with you, folks. So please educate yourself and do what the young people are doing, and let's get enough people helped that are out there waiting for that call.
Dana, thanks so much for using your voice and your program to get the word about this and so many other great things happening in our community. Sophie, what's the takeaway from your story and all of your friends' story and Luke's?
Yeah, so we're just so happy to have gotten those 11 donors and 3,000 people added to the registry. Like, that is an incredible number, and we're so happy to be, one of the leading campuses here. I just want to let everyone know, I'm part of a great club at KU Be the Match. So many people are a part of this club and are helping every day reach out to the community, reach out to Greek life there, and just constantly get the word out and get QR codes, people swabbed and added to the registry. And I think just our main takeaway is that, we want people to join the registry. It takes seconds to save a life, and it could make a really great impact.
All right, Sophie, thanks so much for what you did for Luke, but here's the deal. Don't stop what you're doing. Keep going. Okay? You got it?
I got it, yeah.
Oh, you got it. All right, we'll see you both, you ladies, soon. And we'll hear from you, Dana, later on this afternoon on your own show. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And thanks to all of our viewers for being with us today. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 8. But before we go, the Kansas City Chiefs shared a cool video giving us some insight into how doctors here at the health system played a big role in the recent NFL draft.
I think medical is a very important part of the draft process because we're looking at players and their current status, whether they can play, as well as longevity. We're in constant communication with our personnel staff, Brett Veach and his staff, about individual players and individual players' medical.
I think a lot of people don't understand that it's, off season is just a variation of our season in its entirety, but our off season starts with combine. So we evaluate roughly 330 players at the combine. We do physical exams of everybody. They get an orthopedic exam, a medical exam, and then we take all that data that we get from those guys to do our evaluations.
Once we're in Kansas City, it takes a week or two to get all the grades together, making sure we're on the same page. And sometimes there's data that needs to still come in. Like some guys needed further testing. We're waiting on that. And then there are other players that were not invited to the combine that do come through for physicals at times. In the same concept, we put our grades in, and then we make sure they get that information.
So let's talk about tonight a little bit. First round of the draft. Let's look at 31 in particular.
In most situations, we're down to 2 or 3 players that we like in this position. And as they're putting it together with the coaches, they also take into consideration medical. And I'll tell you, Brett Veach is so thorough and cognitive in his process that he may ask me on day 1 about a guy that we're not taking till day 3.
With the 31st pick of the 2023 NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Felix Enrique Uzama, defensive end, Kansas State.
I think it's always kind of gratifying to see the rookies come in and the new guys and how they're going to contribute to the team. And a lot of them are familiar faces because we've already gotten to know them through the physical exam process.
That's always nice to see a guy that, we've helped with whatever condition they might have, go out there on Sundays, be able to perform, are healthy, have no issues. It's rewarding to see that.
Patients living far from the big city still deserve high-quality health care, but in some places there's simply no doctors. I'm Jessica Lovell on the next Open Mics with Dr. Stites, improving health care for rural America. See the award-winning work that's connecting Kansans with the care they need, Wednesday at 8 a.m.
Subscribe to our morning medical update and Open Mics with Dr. Stites podcast. Now everywhere podcasts are available.